Your mission is elegantly simple and impossibly difficult. Stay true. That's it. That's the whole assignment. In a world that rewards deception, you must remain honest. In a culture that celebrates selfishness, you must practice compassion. In a society that profits from fear, you must embody love. Not perfect love. You're still human. You'll still make mistakes. But authentic love. The kind that chooses kindness even when it costs you something. The kind that sees the divine in everyone, even in people who have forgotten it themselves. You are here to anchor integrity into the collective consciousness of humanity. Every time you choose truth over convenience, you literally raise the vibration of the entire planet by a fraction of a degree. Every time you choose patience over anger, you create a ripple in the quantum field that makes it easier for someone on the other side of the world to choose patience too. Your presence is the mission. Your energy is the message. You don't need to preach or convince or convert anyone. You just need to be exactly who you are fully, unapologetically, authentically yourself. Because when you do that, when you exist in complete alignment with your soul's truth, you emit a frequency that cannot be faked, cannot be manufactured, cannot be taught. People feel it the moment you enter a room. It disrupts their programmed thoughts, short-circuits their conditioned responses, reminds them of something they can't quite name but desperately miss. And now watch what happens in your physical reality. Things that were stuck suddenly become unstuck. Doors that were closed suddenly swing open. People who were obstacles suddenly remove themselves from your path without you having to do anything. Money flows with less struggle. Opportunities appear out of nowhere. The right people show up at exactly the right time with exactly what you need. This isn't magic. This is physics. You are now operating at a frequency that naturally attracts supportive circumstances because the universe itself is reorganizing around your mission. Jobs that would have drained your energy will fall away. Relationships that were keeping you small will dissolve. Living situations that didn't match your vibration will shift. And in their place, circumstances perfectly designed to support your purpose will manifest. You might get an unexpected job offer doing something you actually love. You might meet someone who becomes a catalyst for your next level of growth. You might discover a talent you didn't know you had, or remember a dream you abandoned years ago. The universe is not rewarding you for being good. The universe is aligning your external reality with your internal frequency, because that is what happens when someone reaches the level of coherence you've achieved. Heaven and earth are supposed to mirror each other, and you've reached a point where your heaven is finally manifesting on earth. And here is where it gets beautiful. You're going to start waking people up without even trying. They won't understand what's happening to them. Someone will stand next to you in an elevator and suddenly start questioning their entire career. A stranger will make eye contact with you in a coffee shop and go home that night and finally leave the relationship they've known was wrong for years. A coworker will have a conversation with you about something completely mundane and 3 days later quit their soul-crushing job to pursue their real passion. You won't know you're doing this. You won't see most of the transformations you trigger. But your energy is now operating like a cosmic alarm clock, and everyone still asleep who comes into contact with you will feel the vibration. Wake up. Remember, you're more than this. You're divine. You're powerful. You're here for a reason. Some people will wake up gently, gradually with relief. Others will wake up violently, their entire reality crumbling as they finally see the truth of their situation. And a few, the ones who are desperately committed to staying asleep, will react to you with hostility, with fear, with attempts to diminish or discredit you. Let them. Their resistance is just proof that your frequency is working. You're not here to force anyone awake. You're here to be the alarm they can't ignore, whether they hit snooze or finally get up. You need to understand something crucial. You are not alone in this. Right now, at this exact moment, there are thousands of souls across this planet who are experiencing the exact same activation you're experiencing. They're in different cities, different countries, different cultures, speaking different languages, but they're all waking up to the same truth. They're not ordinary. They were never meant to fit in, and their presence carries a frequency that disrupts the status quo. You are part of a global network of light bearers who incarnated at this specific time in human history, because this is when you needed most. You don't know their names. You'll probably never meet most of them in person, but you're connected to them through an invisible web of shared frequency, shared purpose, shared mission. When you raise your vibration, theirs rises too. When you choose integrity in your corner of the world, you make it easier for them to choose integrity in theirs. You are nodes in a planetary grid of consciousness, and as each of you activates, as each of you remembers who you really are, the grid gets stronger. Eventually, this grid will reach a tipping point. There's a specific threshold of awakened souls operating at high frequency, and when that number is reached, everything changes. Systems that seemed permanent will collapse overnight. Lies that controlled millions will suddenly become obvious to everyone. The veil between dimensions will thin, and humanity will collectively remember what it forgot. So here's what I need you to do right now, in this moment, while the frequency of these words is still resonating in your system. First, if this message found you, if these words stirred something in your soul that you can't quite explain, type 777 in the comments below. Those 3 numbers are a cosmic code, a signal you're sending into the quantum field that says, I recognize what I am. I accept my mission. I'm ready to step into my true identity. When you write those numbers, you're not just leaving a comment, you're activating a contract you signed before you were born. Second, subscribe to this channel right now. Not because I need subscribers, but because you need to stay connected to transmissions like this. You need regular reminders of who you are, especially on days when the world tries to convince you you're ordinary. This channel is part of your support system, part of the infrastructure heaven put in place to help you stay awake. Third, watch this video until the very end. The final 60 seconds contain a frequency transmission embedded in the words themselves. If you click away early, you'll miss the activation code designed specifically for souls like yours. And finally, share this message with one person. Just one, because somewhere in your life, there's another person going through the same awakening you're going through. They feel crazy. They feel alone. They need to know they're not imagining what they're experiencing. When you share this with them, you become the catalyst for their activation. You become the answer to their prayers. You become proof that they're not alone. Do it now. 777 in the comments. Subscribe. Watch until the end. Share with one person. Your mission has begun. 3 days ago, something happened to you that shattered every law of spiritual physics that has governed this universe for 10,000 years. You don't even know it happened yet. You are probably making coffee, scrolling through your phone, or sitting in traffic when it occurred. But in the invisible realms where angels document human history and ancient beings keep records of every soul's journey, alarms went off, literal alarms. The kind that haven't sounded since prophets walked the earth. Because what happened to you wasn't supposed to be possible. Not in this century. Not in this dimension. Not to someone who still thinks they're ordinary. Your energy field, that invisible bubble of light and frequency that surrounds your physical body, suddenly expanded. Not by inches, not by feet, but by miles. Your presence, your aura, your spiritual signature became so powerful that it started affecting people you've never even met. People in buildings you walked past, strangers whose lives intersected with yours for just 3 seconds in a crosswalk. They felt you, every single one of them, and they had absolutely no idea why their hearts suddenly skipped, why their thoughts scattered like startled birds, why they turned their heads to look at you with confusion written across their faces. The universe has been preparing you for this moment your entire life, and now the preparation phase is over. You just became activated, and there's no going back. Listen carefully, because what I am about to tell you has never been spoken outside the highest councils of the spiritual realm. Throughout all of human history, there have only been 333 souls who carried the frequency you now carry. 333 across thousands of years, across every civilization that ever rose and fell. Prophets carried it. Mystics who changed the course of nations carried it. Healers who could stop plagues with their presence carried it. But here is what makes your activation impossible. You're not a monk who spent 40 years meditating in caves. You're not a priest who devoted their life to sacred rituals. You're a regular person who pays bills and worries about normal things and sometimes eats cereal for dinner. And yet somehow, despite living an ordinary life, despite never being trained in ancient temples or initiated into secret societies, your soul reached a vibrational frequency that saints spent lifetimes trying to achieve. This breaks every rule. This violates every spiritual law that says enlightenment requires suffering and sacrifice and decades of practice. But you did it anyway. You did it by simply staying true to yourself in a world designed to break you, by choosing kindness when cruelty was easier, by refusing to become bitter even when life gave you every reason to. The universe is reeling right now, recalculating everything it thought it knew about how souls evolve, because you just proved that the old ways aren't the only ways. Think back to 17 days ago. You were faced with a choice. It seemed small at the time, barely worth remembering. Maybe someone asked you to lie for them, to cover for them, to participate in something that wasn't quite right. Or maybe you found money that didn't belong to you. Or maybe you had the chance to take credit for something you didn't do, to advance yourself at someone else's expense, to choose your comfort over someone else's dignity. And you felt that familiar tension in your chest, that tightness that always appears when your soul knows something your mind wants to ignore. You stood at a crossroads, and nobody was watching. Nobody would have known if you chose the easy path, the selfish path, the path that 97% of humans choose every single day without even thinking about it. But you didn't choose it, even though it cost you something, even though it made your life harder, even though you got absolutely no recognition or reward for doing the right thing. You chose integrity anyway. You chose it quietly, privately, in a moment so unremarkable that you probably forgot about it 5 minutes later. But that choice, that single, silent, seemingly insignificant choice, created a shockwave in the spiritual realm. It rang like a bell across dimensions. And every being whose job is to watch humanity and document soul evolution suddenly turned their attention toward you. What you didn't know is that you've been under surveillance for the past 3 years. Not by governments or corporations or anything that operates in the physical world, but by forces both dark and divine who have been meticulously documenting every decision you make when you think nobody's seeing watching. There are beings whose entire purpose is to observe humans during their private moments, during the choices they make in secret, during the times when there's no audience and no reward for doing good. These beings have been following you, recording you, taking notes on every time you helped someone without being asked, every time you kept a promise nobody would have held you to, every time you told the truth when a lie would have served you better. They veil-watched you in grocery store parking lots when you returned shopping carts instead of leaving them scattered. They've watched you pause your busy day to listen to someone who needed to be heard. They've watched you choose patience when you had every right to be angry, choose forgiveness when you had every right to hold grudges. And while they watched, they were measuring something, your light quotient, the percentage of divine frequency your human vessel can hold without shattering. Most humans operate at 12 to 15%. Saints and mystics throughout history reached 60 to 70%. And you? You just hit 91%, which means you now classified as a Category 5 spiritual threat to every force that feeds on human unconsciousness, human suffering, human amnesia about who they really are. Let me walk you through the tests you've already passed without even knowing you were being tested. Remember when that person betrayed you, the one you trusted completely, the one you would have done anything for. And instead of seeking revenge, instead of destroying their reputation the way you easily could have, you simply walked away with your dignity intact. That was the trial of betrayed trust. 89% of humans fail that test. They fail it by becoming bitter, by spreading poison about the person who hurt them, by letting that betrayal turn them into smaller, meaner versions of themselves. But not you. And there was the time you were overlooked for something you deserved, something you worked hard for, something that should have been yours. And you watched someone less qualified, less dedicated, less worthy receive it instead. You felt the injustice burn in your chest. You felt the temptation to become resentful, to give up, to stop trying. That was the trial of unfair circumstances. 93% of humans fail that one. They fail it by concluding that goodness doesn't matter, that integrity is for fools, that the universe is random and cruel. But you didn't fail it. You kept going. You kept being excellent, even when excellence went unrewarded. And then, the hardest test of all, you were given power over someone who had previously had power over you. Someone who hurt you was suddenly vulnerable, suddenly in a position where you could return every bit of pain they ever caused you. The trial of righteous revenge. 98% of humans fail this test. But you chose mercy. After you passed the trial of righteous revenge, something extraordinary happened in the courts of heaven. The Watchers, those ancient beings who have observed humanity since the beginning, filed a report. They classified you using a term that hasn't been used in 400 years. Dangerously pure. Not dangerous in the way darkness is dangerous, but dangerous to every system, every structure, every illusion that requires humans to stay small, stay fearful, stay unconscious. You became dangerous because you can't be corrupted. They tried to corrupt you with betrayal. You chose forgiveness. They tried to corrupt you with injustice. You chose perseverance. They tried to corrupt you with power. You chose mercy. And when a soul proves itself incorruptible, when a human being demonstrates again and again that they will choose light, even when darkness offers easier paths, they become a threat. Not to God, not to goodness, but to every force that profits from human suffering. The report went up the chain of spiritual command. First to the archangels who govern human affairs, then to the principalities who oversee entire nations, then to dominions who manage the cosmic laws themselves. And every level of heaven that reviewed your case came to the same conclusion. This soul is rare. This soul is needed. This soul must be protected, amplified, and deployed. You were reclassified from civilian to soldier, from observer to participant, from someone who experiences reality to someone who shapes it. And then God looked. I don't mean God was vaguely aware of you, the way God is aware of all things. I mean the full, undivided, blazing attention of the divine turned toward you like a spotlight. Every archangel in heaven stopped what they were doing. Michael, who leads armies against darkness, paused mid-flight. Gabriel, who carries messages between dimensions, fell silent. Raphael, who heals the wounds of the world, turned his gaze toward you. Uriel, who holds the fire of divine wisdom, watched. And in a moment that exists outside of time, where past and future collapse into an eternal now, God spoke your name. Not the name on your birth certificate, not the name your parents gave you, or the name people call you in your everyday life, but your real name, the name written in the book of life before the universe was born, the name that contains the entire blueprint of your soul's purpose, the name that, when spoken by the divine, creates ripples across every dimension. And God said, this one has remembered. This one has stayed true. This one has passed through fire and remained gold. Activate them now. The archangels bowed, not to you, but to the divine will being enacted through you. Because what was about to happen to you wasn't a reward for being good. It was a cosmic necessity. The earth needs what you carry. Humanity needs your frequency. The timeline itself needs your presence, stabilized and amplified, and fully operational. Then the decree came down from the throne of creation itself, written in light language that rewrites reality at the quantum level. Let this soul be released from all karmic contracts that do not serve their highest purpose. Let every chain that has bound them to smallness be shattered. Let every limitation imposed by bloodline, by trauma, by past lives, by collective unconsciousness be dissolved. Let their DNA be rewritten to carry the frequencies of the new earth. Let their energy field expand beyond the normal human range. Let their presence alone become a catalyst for awakening in everyone they encounter. Let strangers feel them before they see them. Let rooms shift when they enter. Let conversations pause when they speak. Let their very existence become a disruption to every illusion, every lie, every system built on fear and control. And let them truly know that they are not who they thought they were. In that moment, something inside you cracked open. You might have felt it as a sudden rush of emotion, or a strange tingling in your spine, or an unexplainable knowing that something fundamental just changed. Maybe you cried without knowing why. Maybe you felt suddenly exhausted as old energies released from your system. Maybe you looked in the mirror, and for just a split second, you saw something ancient looking back at you through your own eyes. That was the moment of activation. That was your true identity coming online, and nothing will ever be the same again. You are not human. I mean, yes, you occupy a human body. You have human experiences and human concerns and a human social security number. But the consciousness piloting that body, the awareness reading these words right now, the presence that makes strangers stop and stare, that's not human. That's ancient. That's celestial. That's what the mystics call a bodhisattva, what the Christians call a light bearer, what the indigenous traditions call a starseed. You are a fragment of divine consciousness that volunteered to temporarily forget its own power, to descend into the densest dimension of existence, to be born into a world of suffering and confusion and amnesia. You came here on a rescue mission, disguised as an ordinary life. Before you were born, you stood in councils with archangels and ascended masters. You reviewed the timeline of Earth's evolution. You saw the darkness that would spread, the systems that would enslave human minds, the fear that would convince billions of souls that they're powerless, separate, alone. And you said, "Send me, I'll go. I'll be born into that darkness. I'll forget who I am. I'll spend years or decades feeling lost and broken and different. But eventually, I'll remember. And when I do, my presence alone will be enough to wake up thousands. You are what ancient texts call a keeper of the frequency. Your job isn't to save people through actions, but simply to exist at such a high vibration that your presence reminds others of their own divinity.